most people don't deal with emotions because most people are disassociated. Are you familiar with the concept of disassociation?
Yes.
So because of the way humans have been trained, let me use the word trained, because everybody's being trained every day. We're being taught how to think, what to believe. We're being trained and cultured every day, whether you like it or not, consciously or subconsciously. Humans are being shaped, right? Everybody's being shaped. So what's going on is that consciously, subconsciously, right? If humans don't learn how to come into their body, so there's so intellectual IQ is tied to neck up, right? And the school system wired people for thinking. Okay. However, the world has yet to unpack the power of what's going on in your body, neck down, your health, your wealth. And many people may not even realize when we talk about cells, your cellular nature, okay, you carry millions and millions and millions and millions of cells. Okay, you carry millions and millions of cells, and those cells carry information. And most of the time, people don't know the information stored neck down. Many people think about intellectualism. You see, emotions is neck down. This is your central nervous system, your endocrine system that governs the health and well-being of your cells neck down. Your central nervous system, right? It also controls your muscular, the movement, the places you're going, the things you're doing, behavior. So when we go into behavioral science, when you talk about emotions and feelings, energy in motion, the information being carried to give instruction to your body on what it should do, how it should perform, on and on and on. Okay? People may not realize that if you have memory, there is also memory neck down. In fact, more of your memory is stored neck down. This is the breakthrough in science. And so, emotions is stored neck down. Your past, your present, right? What's going on emotionally is stored neck down. So what's going on is that emotions affect psychology, and those who don't want to confront what is going neck down, they disassociate. They live in denial, because you can just be smart intellectually, IQ, go to school. You can be doing. You can be in doing mode, going to the work, do like performance mode. You can be performing, right? Because you have the skill. However, people may find themselves not emotionally healthy. Okay? Because emotions, it's you have to stop, quiet yourself, and listen to what's going on in your body. The mind that you're using to do, you have to quiet that mind, okay? And you have to let that mind process what's going on in your body. That's emotional processing. You can be processing information, intellectual information, and doing, or doing quiet. Usually when you are quiet, because most people who are not quiet will not listen to their own body. They'll just be like, and they'll be jumping and numbing. They'll be numbing themselves. They'll be so active. They'll be going, Friday, yay, from one thing to the other, right? They will be avoiding living in their own body. And living in your own body means listening to what's going on or what's stored, what has happened to you that you need to process, delete. Because that processing requires you to listen, learn, and decide. You have to make a decision to keep it or delete it.
And I think that's,
mm-hmm.
Oh, no,
go on.
And I think that was this is different for me, because what you're saying, the disassociation is what I have done for years. I think about when my mom passed, I disassociated the emotion. And I was the goer. I was the one who organized and made sure that everything was okay. And I did it when my grandmother passed and my grandfather, and that was who I was. So it was years at least into a year after my mom had passed, that I was just in bed and I just broke down, you know. So I know that what you're saying is how I have in the past dealt with emotions.
Right, you
So
didn't deal with it. Nobody is trained to deal with it. That's the issue. The problem is people are not trained to confront. People are trained to deny, to numb, to keep up performing, to keep up showing face
yeah,
that everything is okay without confronting their own inner reality. That's what, so you are, listen, that's the issue. And many people have gone years and years and years and years and decades and decades and decades packing up pain, struggle on their body and not having the skill. Because, let me tell you why. Emotions do not know time. The concept of time is not, it doesn't, it's something that happened 10 years ago. The day you open that door of that emotion, that memory, it will rush into the moment and you will experience what you experience. Because emotions is not, it's not determined by third dimensional rules. Okay? Emotions is not governed by third dimensional rules. Emotion is governed by energetic rules. And energy is what you're carrying around. And the energy that produces that pain, you have to de-energize it. You have to let go. It must not have power over you anymore. That's how you deal with it. And so people think not dealing with stuff. Oh, you know, church people, somebody did you something. They say, oh, forgive, let's go. Just sister, you know, brother. Okay, they didn't give you the skill to actually feel your pain and step over it, move past it. People are saying you shouldn't feel. Why should you feel? They are making you deny your own human existence, instead of making room and creating space where people can feel their feelings, process their emotions, let it go, heal, and then move on into well-being, so that they are not carrying that energy around. Because that energy is tied to the story of what happened to you, who did what, when they did what, and how it made you feel. You carry that story all around you until you change the story. So people are carrying stories around. Those stories at one time were true. Forgiveness, letting go, is de-energizing that story, meaning that story does not run your life anymore. That story has no power over you. You've taken charge, you've addressed it, you've let it go. And if you connect this to manifestation, here's the kicker that people don't understand. The story you don't confront, the story you don't deal with, they repeat itself. Somebody else will energetically keep doing that same thing to you because you are holding that true as part of your life. That story, you are holding it as part of your life. And so people keep repeating patterns. It may just be somebody that started it because you didn't forgive, you didn't let go. You start seeing that same thing happen over again. The stories you don't deal with, the ones you don't let go, they repeat because your mind assumes you love that story. The stories you don't love, just dump it. Dump it. Right? It happened, boom. Delete it from your life. Instead of carrying it into tomorrow, delete it as quick. If people really understand the things I teach for their own well-being, for their own reality, people are clouding their supercomputer with funky stories. Funky stories. And by design, people don't want anybody to know. This is revelation. Let me also share some. I'll share some high level. So I've completely changed today's stuff. I'll share this and then we'll close up. There's another level, very, very high level stuff I'm going to share. I'll be writing more about it, but this changes the game. But let me give you time to respond. And if you will have any questions, okay?
Okay. I'm good.
You're good. Okay. So there's this concept of emotional maturity. I'll drop a few technical things out there. There's this concept of emotional maturity. There's this concept of inner child. There's this concept of attachment. There's a concept of self-agency. There's concept of should I keep going, because I'm about to weave everything together to help people connect the dots. Because what you find is individually they are topics of themselves, but people don't know how they interrelate. One of the things I do is the most complex things. I help you see it in simple ways so that you can transform your life. So basically, okay, you've gone to, are you still with us? Your audio? I think when you mute or something, the video changes. Okay, anyway. So there's the concept of emotional maturity. There's the concept of, right, there are different things. But what I want to do is to synthesize all of those things and make it make sense. You see, when a child is born, everybody came into this world as a baby. So this concept of inner child. Okay, did you have a comment there? Volume. Can you? Okay,
I'm good now. It's good now.
Wait a minute. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Good. I apologize. It went back.
No.
Okay, I clicked the wrong button. Okay, let's go. Okay, so when everybody's born, okay, a baby is dependent on the caregiver. A baby is dependent on the caregiver. That's one. The second thing is that the baby cannot speak yet, cannot do for themselves what they want done. So the language of the body is what the baby relies on. The baby cannot speak ABCD, right? So the language of the body is emotions, and emotions emote. So when you see a baby crying, you know, right, the baby is uncomfortable, but the baby doesn't have the language to speak in English or whatever language to communicate with the mom or the caregivers. So the baby will make noise, will groan, will make body movement to express what is going on in the body. It is now the duty of the caregivers to listen to the baby, to assess, okay, what's going on, to try to understand. Do you need food? Do you need change? Do you need this? Do you need, what does the baby need? Because the baby cannot speak, doesn't have the training yet, has not matured to be able to understand what's going on in its own body, his or our own body, and to communicate to the caregiver. The baby cannot do that. But the baby knows that there's discomfort. You see, that's the key. The baby knows there's discomfort. The baby needs comfort. The baby needs care. The baby needs attention. The baby needs to be responded to. The baby also needs to be soothed, calmed down. Meaning that whatever is bringing the discomfort must be addressed. If it is not addressed, the baby keeps crying. Now, good caregivers will address the needs immediately. Yes, good, great, right, as quickly as you know. Oh, hungry, quickly. So the speed at which you address the baby is the speed at which the baby calms down. If you don't address it quickly, sometimes the baby would numb and feel abandoned, right? If nobody shows up, maybe the baby is crying in the next room, nobody shows up, then the baby would forcefully cry, and then nobody attended, and then the baby will go numb, right? Those are patterns. So babies it's okay for babies to need other people to suit itself, because by design, other people are responsible for the care of the baby. I'm sharing that to say life comes in stages. Life is in stages. However, there is a level of maturity, emotional maturity, where all of the responsibility that was assigned to caregivers is supposed to be transferred as the child grows up. Do we agree?
Yes.
Okay. So the way God designed it is you come in, you depend 100%. That 100% is supposed to be 80%, 70%, 60%, 50% until it gets to zero. As the baby grows old, as everybody matures in life, from teenager, this is that responsibility is supposed to be gradually transferred, and then the baby is supposed to take on responsibility, right? It's a shift of responsibility. Who is going to care for you? Who is going to cook for you? Who is going to suit you? Who is going to listen to your emotions? All those things, right? It's supposed to be 100% cared, right? Transferred to a growing child. If someone is growing at the normal pace, emotionally, the person is supposed to take on and acquire the skill of listening to those same emotions. Emotions don't go away. The reason babies cry and the reason babies go, right, discomfort, those things don't go away. They expand. Babies cry to poop, they cry to eat, they cry to sleep. Those emotions, because that's the language of the body. When you are tired as an adult and you don't go to bed, your eyes will be going for, right? When you are hungry, signs, your body will speak to you. When you are tired, your body will speak to you. When you need to go, your body will speak to you. I'm saying those things, the language of the body does not go away. Make sense? The language of the body does not go away. They get more dynamic and complex. So now the baby is small. As you grow older, your emotional library will go expanding, meaning your life's experiences, the things you will have to navigate in life, they go more. The responsibility you have, they go. Life puts more pressure and responsibility on a growing person. A baby goes from zero responsibility, and then as you grow older, 100% responsibility, and then you can also be responsible for other people's care. The reason I'm taking time to share this is that one of the things that then happen is when people stop growing emotionally, the decisions and conclusions that they make along that journey of life, they get locked, right? They are so rigid. Women are this. All the things people are fed before they could mature to make their own decisions by themselves. Culture will decide for you. Nature will decide for you. DNA, nurturing will decide for you. All the stories you listen to about life, when you were formed, where you were being formed as you are maturing, the conclusions of other people, the decisions of other people, the lives they lived, and their summary of that life. Oh, blacks are this, whites are this, women are this. Just full stop. Without reasoning, without thinking, other people's life, they give you, they feed you their conclusions. As it, right? And that is enough to get you through a certain point in life. Maybe teenager, 20, right? Oh, women, this is what marriage is. This is what a wife does. This is what a woman, right? Life will tell you scripts and stories. They will offer you their own thoughts, their own realities. That's the best they can offer. Good, right? This is life. Fantastic. Say thank you. What then happens is people run their life for the rest of the next 20, 30 years. People run their lives based on the stories formed in childhood that other people fed them. Because energetically, there's a spiritual side, there's your physical side. The middle is where emotions are. They are created by the stories you believe that your subconscious has stored and is using to inform your life experiences. Your reactivity, your behavior is shaped by these stories, your conclusions. And those conclusions may have been made when you were 15. So you will find that people can mature age-wise, but the story they are carrying around, those stories are not mature. Right? Those stories were shaped by somebody who was 15, 16. Maybe you were bullied, experiences that happened that made a young child that is not intellectually or mentally sophisticated enough, they just make a conclusion. Oh, all men are this, all women are that. Now, in adulthood, they are reacting to life with that story. When something happened, they will repeat that story. Ah, don't mind them. Men are this. Where did the story come from? Who gave you that story? Was it your experience? Even if it is your experience, if you didn't reconcile in a sophisticated way and you concluded in a very simple way, something that needs to be isolated, one man did wrong, suddenly, a non-sophisticated man will say, all men are this, right? One person did you wrong, say, all women. That's an unsophisticated, immature conclusion about life. But it doesn't matter. People can carry that full stop story, put a full stop on they lock themselves. When people feel stuck, it's because they've locked themselves in a limiting story, a story that belongs to an immature person. Because when you mature emotionally, you ought to see life in a more colored way. You ought to see life and be able to filter one person's behavior than the entire planet's behavior. That's maturity. You ought to be able to live in a life and know, oh, if this egg is not good, in a bunch of eggs, trash the egg. There are more eggs in the world. So that you can set yourself free instead of living a life of all eggs are rotten because one egg is rotten. You opened egg, one is rotten. You concluded the entire world as rotten eggs. That is a child's limited perspective and exposure. A mature adult ought to have traveled enough, listen to as many stories as possible and say, you know what, remove the rotten egg, delete it. Let's look for the best in the world. And so you can move forward in life progressively when your stories are expansive and abundant. But people program themselves, and so they stop searching for success because they have a limiting story that nothing is going to happen for them. And that's what happens, is that those stories now hold people bound. Because once you believe a negative story, the negative story is a cage. You cannot attract the things you believe negativity on. You've said, keep this away. That's what these stories do. You can only attract the things you have positive intention, right? Positivity emotionally attracts. Negativity also attracts what you don't want. It's a complex reality. I'm just trying to keep it simple. This is why emotional healing, the emotional healing book in the school, money blocks, removing, right, is because emotion is expressed based on the stories your energy is tied up in, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously. And you now have to sit down and start scanning, right? What is making you bitter? What is making you angry? What is making you... Every emotion is backed with a story. Positive story, positive emotions. Negative stories, negative emotions. And so every emotion, when you take this training, every emotion that you don't like, you must sit down. You know what the mom will do to that child? It is your responsibility to listen to your own body. Your body is trying to tell you there's an information in your system that is not good for your life. That's what emotion is. Negative emotion is just trying to tell you, you have believed something. You are acting out something that is against God's principle for your life. Fix it. And if you don't fix it, it persists. Those things don't go away. People will think denial, it doesn't go away by design. It's like a computer. Once a virus goes in, you might be in denial. It's there. Antivirus is how you search it. I don't want this in my life. Delete it. And you move on to processing life more courageously. And those things, they steal energy. They steal people's wealth. They steal health and of relationship. All these beliefs, limited. They do so much stuff. Yes, people can be gathering content, doing programs, doing this and that, but trust me, unprocessed negative emotions is what is inside people's life, inside their own computer, their quantum computer, their own cells, that is ruling their behavior towards specific things and people. When you see yourself emoting negatively towards a person, it's because you believe something wrong about a person. And so when people now move into entrepreneurship, one of the things, when you say the purging process is that all those stories will break. Well, because they have to break. You know why? Do you have a question before I go to this third phase? Okay.
Enjoying.
Good. You see the things people don't deal with in isolation. Okay, what do I mean by isolation? Okay, I want to share this in a very wholesome way. You see, you're living in a bubble. When you're an employee, you are living in a safety net. You are shielded from the entire world. You have one employer, your teammates, your family. It's a bubble. And there are specific relational bubble. What do I mean? Anything, this is very advanced, so I'm trying to teach it in a way anybody can understand. Like that's the process I am going through. So if you find me pausing and hesitating, I'm saying, okay, how do I drop this? Like the expansive knowledge is in me, but I'm like, how do I synthesize it and make it simple, like so that we can feed people and people can understand? That's what's going on right now, because I'm excited, like the big stuff, but I want to be effective in sharing. So I'm trying to see, where do I start from that will help people connect? Let me share this. All relationship is energetic. All relationship is energetic. What does it mean? When you choose to be in relationship with a thing, with a person, it means that you've opened up a channel of communication, not just physically, but actually you are exchanging energy and information. Is that simple enough?
Yes.
One person is here, one person is here. You became friends,
right,
or you became lovers, or you became boss, co-workers, meaning that they are in your, when we say fear of influence,
right,
the energetic, right? They're in your space. You are in relationship with them means that the information, you have information about that person. The person has information about you. The person sees you, knows you, thinks about you, okay, understands you. You are energetically connected. That's relationship. And because energy carries information by itself. If you have a book in your hands and somebody wrote something, all information is static until somebody scoops it with energy.
okay,
Until you attach. So the principle of attachment, I'm going to bring the principle of attachment. The principle of attachment is you are invested in that information. And you want that information. You want to be in relationship with that information. That meaning that you are bringing that information into you, meaning it means something to you. So every relationship, whether husband, wife, boss, everything you know that has entered your consciousness, that is in your space, okay, it means your own energy will feed that system information. Then you're also giving permission for that system to feed you information. That's why certain times you can hear thoughts. Okay. Now, here's the deal. Is that information healthy for you? Because certain people carry wrong thoughts. They don't like you, right? That's why if you enter a room as a human being, you can enter a room and you know if they love you or not. Why? They don't need to speak. It's because the information they have programmed themselves, how they feel about you, what they believe about you, how they think about you, they are carrying it in their own system. And you can pick it up. Your mind can read and scan other people's minds. Just like if somebody's speaking, your ears can pick it, can listen. Okay? This is the power of the fourth dimension. There's third dimension, there's fourth dimension, there's fifth dimension. Fifth dimension is ruled by power, will, that's the force. Fourth dimension is ruled by energy and information. And then the third dimension, 3D, action. This is where action happens. Physical, everything you're going to do physically, that's where it's done. Now, when it comes to emotion, okay, so I'm still coming to emotions. You see, the information and energy people are carrying within themselves and exchanging with one another is charged. It can charge you up. Okay, it's like battery. Certain information can lift you and make you feel good. Yes, meaning that by design, by God's design, you see, by God's design, you are designed to process information and you carry energy. Your cells also receive energy, right? You eat food by God's design. And also by God's design, you are fueled. Positive information fuels you, gives you power, gives you more energy. Negative information drains you. That's why when people are in relationship with one another, if you're in the wrong relationship, simply what it means is the person's thoughts towards you, it's not, when you ingest it, it makes you sick. It's not healthy. Yeah? They don't have to say anything. Their beliefs influences their feelings and will determine their behavior. And what I'm also saying, the recipient, when you receive information carried by energy, the cells, your cellular nature, will determine, will give you a signal. Let me call it a signal of, is that healthy for your cells? That's reactivity. That's reactivity. That's why I said you're experiencing life. You go into a place, your cells is the one exposed to energy and information. Do you understand? And that information, is it good for your emotional well-being? Emotion is energy in motion. If that information goes into your system, your information system, how does it make you feel? And what emotions, what trigger at the endocrine system, what type of energy will it produce in your cells? Because it's feeding your cells. Literally, when you eat information, when you are exposed to information, you are feeding your cells. And if you expose yourself to healthy information, your cells will come alive. Like, yes, we were made. You know, if I say, oh, you can do it, your cells will agree. Say, yes, we feel good. The health of your cells are strengthened in healthy environment. What does it mean to be healthy? In good environments where people feel good about you, they love you, they like you, they hold you in peace. They wish you no wrong. So now when the cell experiences the opposite, somebody did you something, said something. It's usually they said something, they did something horrible, right? Guess what? The cells received that experience. That person has come and gone. But the mind will now ask you, because this is where emotional processing lies. The mind is now, you are still the recipient of that treatment. The mind now wants to ask you, please, sir, please, ma'am, boss, what do we do with what just happened? How do we interpret it? How do we file it? Listen, until you answer that question, the mind will copy everything that happened and store it in long-term memory. Until you are ready to give the mind what to do about what happened and how to process that story. It's an unfinished business in the energetic world. When people are disassociated, they don't have the skills to address it, confront it, delete it, move on beyond it. The mind cannot do that on behalf of anybody. You, the spiritual self, will have to sit with yourself and retell that story of what happened, who did what, why did it happen, the 360 side of it. And then you have to come to a calm place, a peaceful place. You have to be at peace with it. If you're not at peace with any of the stories, your mind will keep carrying it around because you were designed to hold peace, not hold negativity. So negativity will always rise up. Every morning, it will always rise up so that you can clear your table. It's like your executive functioning. And so back to emotional immaturity is somebody who has not developed this mature skill of dealing with their own stuff.
Yeah.
Because as a baby, if somebody didn't train you how to let go, how to forgive, how to not be jealous, how to not be afraid, how to not be this, how to not doubt, if they didn't put you in conditions where you trained yourself to live in a life, to live out a life of wellness, then that's it. You see, so emotional maturity is when you can deal with your stuff, and then you can also help other people see their stuff, bring them to, ultimately, you bring it to a place of peace. And it's a lot of work. And people are carrying around, because what's now happening is all of those stories that they haven't dealt with. Let's say you now want to become an entrepreneur. You want to invite more people into your business. You see all those stories. I wish you could isolate those stories. You can't, energetically. All those stories, they are now exposed to a more volume of people. What it means is more people will come and do those same things to you. People can kill themselves, right? Sometimes God protects people. Their businesses, they will say it's not growing. It's not that it's not growing, it's that you are not growing to handle people. You've not handled the people in your small pond. You're asking the entire world to come to your business. Do you know that the stories you are carrying, they are powerful enough that you are inviting those people to do to you all the things you said you did not like? So there is a protection layer around people who haven't done emotional healing, inner healing. They cannot be exposed to the world because the pain of the past will be multiplied if you don't remove the pain, because energetically it causes attraction. Your stories will attract more, because inside those stories you created an actor, you've created the character of that actor, you've created what they do to you. You don't like it, it's bringing you pain. That's okay. Here's the key. That story in the energetic world will multiply itself because it's still in your system. If God exposed you to 1,000 people, you don't know how many people will start giving you more pain.
Right.
So one of the biggest things an entrepreneur must do is confront what's going on in their own inner circle, deal with those things, de-energize it, set yourself free from emotional pain, so that more people will not copy and paste, so that you don't invite the same actor. Every story you are packing, you are inviting actors to come and do to you what you've given permission in your soul. So God will protect, because your mind knows. Remember this scripture: God will not let you be tempted beyond more than you can bear. That's the key. The cap is more than you can bear. If you're already drowning, you're still already you're already emotionally overwhelmed. You've not processed the emotion. That's not the time for you to be building a business and saying more people. If you expose yourself, you'll be seeing more things that people will be typing nonsense. You are energetically charged to invite more of the same. And so protection, it's almost like check this person out, get the person to deal with their stuff, remove those things, and then update yourself with new stories, so that you actually have to embody the stories you want to live out in your life. This is the most powerful thing. I'll keep trying to invite people to come and download and take those classes and do that work. Because many people think, oh, the you do more technical skill. Listen, the people who rise up in life, you have to lighten your emotional load. You cannot be weighed down by all the stuff people are doing. You cannot be, you will actually be leaving people alone. You will not be attaching your energy. You will be minding your business so much. People who are in other people's business cannot go rise higher. This is why, because your system, you see, it's like the system God has given you to manifest. If you load it up with junk and you are living out junk food story, that's it. You just stay at the level of your stories according to the power of God in you. And so when you want to rise higher, you have to deal with those things. Hey, sorry, did I trigger? Okay, process that, please.
I mean, what you said is so true. People aren't, the skills are easy to come by. It's the emotional, it's the inside that we have to learn to deal with that will allow for everything else to come in place. And I guess that's why I'm taking my time as far as starting my business and doing it, because I want to make sure that I'm emotionally stable and able to build and to scale to a level in which I know that I'm called to do. But
right. And the moment you actually started doing that work, I'm sure you've already experienced different things in your life. Yes. That's how it works so quickly. Is that once you just take those workbooks and you download it and you start being conscious, you will suddenly start experiencing life differently immediately. It's like, where have I been?
Yeah. And it's like when Coach said you need at least a year to do this, to get all of that. It's true. It's not a couple of months overnight. It's just, I go back and I listen to, and it's like, okay, I get it now. So like if I might have, did a workbook or did something when I first started, when I go back now, it's like, okay,
more and more layers and layers.
Yes. And it's just like, oh my gosh.
So what it does is it sets us free. This is the key. Emotional healing sets people free to live a bigger life.
Yes.
Because if you're trying to navigate life and the life has been programmed from childhood, it doesn't even matter when. And the program it's a cage. Don't do this, do that. There are layers and layers of people who are authority figures. They've been set in place because of nature, nurture, culture to be spiritual authority over your life. And they don't wish you well. They don't wish you to be bigger than them. They always they've been programmed. It's their own story. This is the key. A child starts out living out other people's story. Every child. Somebody gave you a name. You didn't give yourself a name. Jabez faced this. His own mother's story. She imprinted his reality with her story. A young baby, innocent baby, imprinted with funky stories. Her own sorrow, she imprinted the child. Where the thing she didn't conquer, she transferred it to the next generation. And a child just came in and inherited funk. He had to get to a midlife, a particular stage, and realize something is routing his life wrong. Something is bringing. Then he has to talk to God. He says, I want to be honorable. This is what I'm trying to tell people. If there are dishonorable stories in your life, where people disrespect you, dishonor you, belittle you, tear you down, there's something in your life that is attracting that stuff. You have to close that door. You have to reject, right? Because you are asking clients and customers to value you and give you money. Yet, there's a story that devalues you in your spirit, in your soul. They can't value you. They can't give you money. They'll be thinking they can step all over you because your energetic aura gives them permission to treat you nonsense. When people are authority figures in your life, they think they can talk to you anyhow, react to you anyhow, because of whatever, because. You allow that privately, trust me, you come out on a stage and you want to speak, everybody will project. You are going to see in reality all of the stories you permit in your spirit. You think you are isolating and you are giving it, and you are just giving few people permission to have access, open door to treat you funkily. You don't know that thing multiplies. This is how the whole world will copy and paste. The whole world copies and pastes your inner reality. And so any thoughts, anything that you don't like, this is the gateway into higher levels of success. If you don't do this, nobody rises up energetically, because you are rising up to more responsibility. You're going to carry more responsibility in life, more pressure. More responsibility, more pressure. So if at the stage you are in now, you are drowning in, oh, this person, can you believe they did me? They taught me this way. Anger. You're not ready. You're not ready. Energetically, God knows you're not ready, because He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. Go and deal with the ones you can bear, because you will mature. So what you now find is when they talk about inner child. And they are now different. Now, if you go back to the quantum leap human design classes, the ones where I talk about reparenting, have you seen the one on reparenting? So there are many remedies, soothing remedies. Let's say parental care, parental figure, authority figures, that those relationships. Remember I said every relationship is energetically tied, and you're exchanging information and energy. Right. And so let's say there are certain things, there are certain ways they treated you, or certain things they didn't gift you that you feel could have been done better by other people you don't control.
Right.
Let's say you feel like, oh, and this person, like, let's say you know better that parents ought to have done this, but they didn't do it. Or certain treatments you felt it could have been better. Whatever those things are, that is your mind calling you to reprogram yourself. That your inner child needs soothing. Something that you needed when you were at certain stages of growth. You weren't fed certain nutrients, energetic, emotional nutrients. You weren't fed love. You weren't fed peace. You weren't allowed to mature in an healthy emotional state of being. That's okay. You may think it is 20 years ago, but that soul level depletion, somebody has to feed it. Most people that haven't done this work will still, like a child, be waiting for the parents to come and give them milk. The milk they were deprived of, they will still wait for the parents energetically. These are stories developed in childhood that is still hasn't been wrestled and dealt with, but people are still carrying that story, and they are waiting for that story to be closed up, right? Put a finished end to your childhood. People who haven't put a finished end, their childhood is still not a closed business. They have unfinished childhood business with the people they grew up with. They've not reconciled the difference. Okay? So when they remember their childhood, because they've not closed it up, they've not dealt with it, it's still painful. The mind will still be acting today as if that childhood is now, not 30, 40 years ago. So you find people say, my mommy didn't do this, my daddy didn't do this. Whenever they open their mouth, the pain rushes out. They think it's 30 years ago that they've pushed it out, but it's not pushed away until you close that story, until they decide to shift the responsibility of their self-care from those imaginary actors that they were waiting for. Everything they were waiting for parents to do, this person to do, that person to do, that person is living their life. They've given you everything they can. They've moved on. But energetically, people are still waiting for somebody to come and give them what they didn't give them in childhood. There's so many remedies. One of the remedy is what they call reparenting. Because if you leave it open, the soul is still hungry for love. The soul knows how it wants to be treated, held, and it wasn't held, meaning something is missing at the soul level. The things that were supposed to be gifted to people when they were 3, when they were 5, when they were 10, they never received it. Father's love, never received. Mother's love. They received it. The person gave it the best way they could give it, but it's not sufficient. There's gap. The way you move forward with your life and mature out of it is to shift, is to not hold other people responsible anymore. A child will hold other people responsible. Part of that process is reparenting, is now parent your soul. Now give your soul every thought, everything. The child is still complaining. The child in you is still complaining. I wish you did this. I wish you did that. I wish I had this. The horse I didn't have. The toy I didn't have. When you were this, you wanted this. Okay, all of that stories is still being true because it has not been, it's an unfinished business. Part of reparenting is finish the business your parents didn't complete in your soul. Give to yourself the peace, the joy, the wholeness. See yourself the way you want to be seen and no longer hold other people responsible, meaning forgive them for they did not know what they were doing or they did the best they could with what they had. Say thank you for the little, whatever they did, say thank you. That's closure, emotional closure. The day people do that simple exercise, you sleep, the version of you that will wake up the next day is different. The day you do emotional healing, you start that journey. When you wake up in the morning, once that story is deleted, you are set free. It's freedom. Meaning you break the cord of dependency. Because as long as your energy and information is connected and you are saying that person is responsible, that means that person is running your life. And there are cells in you allocated with that person's thoughts. That means that person's thoughts is still has power over the conditions of your life. And so people can be stuck in the past simply because they've attached themselves to people who cannot help them or who don't have the capacity. And so they are emotionally depleted, minimized, and stuck. Part of getting unstuck is take that story, replace the actor. Replace the actor because you cannot control the actor. You can control yourself. And start taking all the vacation and start eating all the good food and start maturing and giving your soul because you are responsible for your own emotional well-being when you mature. If you are not mature, immature people will not take responsibility of this thing. They will still blame other people. This person did this to me. That person did. That is the language of people who haven't matured. It's not that the people didn't do or they did. That's not what this is about. When you want to set yourself free, you take your power back. You don't give power over your life to other people. You don't say other people must do for you what you can now do for yourself. It's like, as long as you're saying somebody is responsible for feeding you dinner, God has given you the ability to go and cook your own food. But you said you will not eat food until somebody come and cook dinner for you. Guess what will happen? You will starve. Malnutrition. Meanwhile, that person doesn't think they're responsible. They're living their life. Yeah. They might even be gone. These things are real. The person may have even left planet Earth. Some people are still, this is emotional immaturity. Many people don't, when they say emotional, because what happens is that story will create reactivity in your real life that will bring you, your cells will be hot every time that story repeats itself. Right? I want people to understand that emotion is energy in motion, is the effect of information and stories inside you on your cells. On your cells. And those cells don't get stronger. Those cells, they don't mature. You cannot face life with powerlessness in those areas. In fact, people now repeat patterns. What you said was done to you, you now do it to other people because that script will copy. It wants to repeat itself and multiply. That's manifestation. So you will find out that people who do another one. I will share a few more. So if people in childhood were made to feel responsible. Oh, Miss Chisholm, you're here. Did you just come in? Because I was just in the zone. If you want to join us, fine. Let me invite you up. So another example is literally so the topic has changed. If you can't tell, the topic, we just decided to change the topic. So anyway, let's say in childhood, people were made to feel that they were responsible for things they should not be responsible for. Or children who were made, there's some language when you say parentification. When children were asked to be responsible for things parents ought to be responsible for, and so they were made to rise up and carry a weight that they should never, ever, ever have been responsible for. That brings a lot of pain. It brings a lot of pain because the child knows, the child's soul knows, because it's an instrument of control. Those are some of the things. If you ever went through that, you now become an entrepreneur or business owner. Listen, people will be dumping on you. You will attract people who don't want to take responsibility for their own reality, and they will hold you responsible for what you should never be responsible for. That's what it does. It repeats itself. Those patterns repeat until you say, hey, you know what? Until you wake up. This is freedom. Setting yourself free is all of these things. Because if you're not free, you can't live your life. You are living in somebody else's story. And those stories weaken you and make you powerless and deplete you of your own resources, your energetic life that you're supposed to use for your own story that God sent you here. When other people hold you responsible to use your own energy and reality to manifest their own responsibility, it results in a lot of pain. People will be like, people will feel used. People will feel, right? And so when they now become an entrepreneur, guess which energy they'll be running their business with? They'll be taking on responsibility. Clients and customer, create more content. You will feel responsible of feeding people. People who don't care about their own life. And those people now, guess what will happen? They will say, feed me more. They won't even move. Because they've outsourced the responsibility of their life on the parental figure. You become the parent of your prospects, of your clients, instead of a guide. Because you are carrying that story that I can do for you what you cannot do for yourself. Dump it. So entrepreneurs will feel overwhelmed by other people's stuff. Because it feels familiar. It is familiar. It is a story you've lived out and you continue to live out. And so people who need other people to carry their stuff, people who are not responsible, people who don't want responsibility, people, full-grown adults who don't have consciousness will rush in to such a person's business and they will crash that person. Sorry, mute. Say no, unmute. I want to hear what you're saying. Okay.
I'm thankful that you came into my life now, but where has this been? Do you know the pain and the struggle that we have been through as a people to have just this information, how it could have saved us so much, how we could have grown in such a way that we can't even fathom or imagine, just from this information alone, to know that everything is triggered through relationships and feelings and nurturing.
What you permit, it's open door. Spiritual. If I go into I'm teaching it more energetically, but this has spiritual implication. You understand? I'm teaching it more. I'm saying emotions, feeling. I'm making it fluffy. Yeah. But actually, in the church, this is deliverance. Period. Because the enemy rides on this open door. The enemy cannot rule over you, but it will use other people's story to keep people bound.
Yes.
And so you now find communities of people, everybody bound. You know, the crab effect. Everybody's tearing each other down. Everybody is loading people up. Anybody that tries to escape, listen, they're coming for you, because your escape is in your story. Your freedom. He who Christ sets free is free indeed. Your story is in your resistance. You must be a resistant army. You must resist crap. You must not let people load you up with what God has not allowed. But if you allow it in your life, God cannot help such people. But as you are resisting, God is sending authority. Your own authority. Your own, being priest over your own life. I've turned Minister Toyin now. You must be the priest over your life. Every story. This is where the scripture said, you will tear down strongholds and everything that opposes God's will for your life. If you don't oppose it, they stay. Because they are like ticks. Ants. They grab hold of whoever does not resist these limiting, funky stories that culture permits. And there will be, you know what usually happens? There will be stories upon stories upon stories that permits this thing. Culture, is family values, is this, is expectation, is judgment. If you break free, judgment. If you ostracize, they will layer on. The enemy knows how to layer on packs and packs of stories. Like the moment you escape one story, there's another story. You escape one story, there's another story. Layers. And those layers weigh people down. And God is calling you into purpose. But people are stuck in survival. Where is the survival coming from? It is the weight that burdens people to be loaded up with responsibility that God is saying, I'm setting you free from. You see, when God wants to set people free from Egypt, you know what Egypt did? He loaded them more burden. When you start this work, it's as if everything comes out of the woodwork. That's what usually happens. Because you're about to escape. Moses has showed up. You're about to escape. And they know you're about to escape. To stop you from escape, they will now say, build bricks without straws. They will load more. And so those who don't access these resources that I'm saying, they give up. The enemy wants you to give up on your own freedom. Jailbreak.
Not doing it.
When you want to jailbreak from limiting thoughts, expectations of others, judgment, assertion, projection, they think their own thoughts matter to your future and they want to rule your life into the ground. When you are ready for your jailbreak, you will pray. You will pray. We are laughing. It's good to laugh. When you go, you say, I am ready. Jesus, God said in the Bible, he said, when you are ready to break the yoke, it will fall off. Because it is like the elephant that was tied down when the elephant was a baby. If elephants can tear those, you can break up when you are ready. But the elephant is psychologically conditioned to think like a child. That's what's going on. That's the mature. It's like the psychological, the stories of when the elephant was a child, the child tried to resist. The child was made powerless. So the child has grown in strength and power, but is still acting like a child. What would they say? What would they think? They used to smack you, or whatever tools, whatever weapons were used to keep you from breaking free when you were a child. You are bigger than those weapons now. Recognize it and then break the arrows. Break it. You will break it. You will break it. You will hold it and break it. Because when God wants to give you power, he will call Moses and say, the serpent that can bite people, I will teach you how to handle the serpents of your life. Listen, you can handle serpents. That is spiritual ascension. That's next level, next level. They used to bite you, torment you, make belittle you, talk you down. Listen, grow up enough to face those things. And just say no. At the end of the day, all you need to do is just learn how to say no to those stories, and those stories will disappear. It's a story. In the energetic world, it is the story that rules the life and behavior of people. That's it. And you may be in a relationship with people. this is where power dynamic, this, I'm layering so many things so that people understand. Power dynamics is when they were powerful without you, without your permission, without your acknowledgement. They broke you, opened you up, and fed you junk. And so you were acting out the script for them, and you couldn't set yourself free. You became who they wanted you to become. You do the things they expect of you. When they say jump, you jump. Come, you come. You can't tell them no. All the people you can't tell no. Those are the people, those are the work. That's the inner work. Because the life you're going to live, you respond to only God's order. You only respond to God's order. And so anybody that you are listening to, you're responding to, and they think they are an authority in your life, and you give them permission, all you have to do is give permission to the enemy. That's all. And then they take over your life. You open the door, they take over your life. I'm saying close the door. Even Jesus will stand at the door and be knocking them gently. You are living in the energetic world, in the world of control, domination, this. They bully people. They bully people. And for you to be, you have to be powerful to ascend. You are powerless. you are a recipe for bully. You go into the world, whether in business, whether in the workplace, you will be seeing the manifestation of people bigger, stronger than you, energetic. They will rule over you. The world of power is that people who are powerless are ruled over. That's it. So breaking free is go get power. Psychological, emotional, spiritual, physical. Because when you are tired of being tired, you will do the work.
Yes.
I always offer people the tools and everything in my school. And I'm saying people don't understand what the battle is. And they are going chasing content. But they don't understand that even the principle, the world of content is part of the control of society. Of myself, all of them. They now want to, the people who created content, do they wish you well? Do they wish you free, or they want to control your life? Think again, people. People have been taking content. Have your life moved forward? Because even the people feeding content out there, think again. Do these people care for your well-being? They are making people sick and burdened, and another agent of control. They are taking over people's mind. And soon enough, people say the government is the problem. You'll be repeating scripts, right, of conclusions of other people. They want you to conclude that somebody is the problem, and then you get stuck on that story. And so then they will now say they are the savior, and then you will now be following them. Instead of people following you, you are following. Listen, let me just please talk. I don't talk. Oh, I don't talk. Because even in the world of wealth creation, which wealth will powerless people create? Something will steal it. Because it's energetic. It's power you used to own. The power you have is what you're going to use to trade and acquire things. You have to be strong enough to be claiming territory in this world. Go ahead, please. Let me drink my water. Mr. Jesus, you have to...
I have something to say, but I'll say this bit. I'll be out at 12 and then I'll rejoin if it's still on. But basically, this is what you are so right. It's just the culture, that culture of, hey, as a woman, you nurture everybody, and then at the expense of your own self, and then you grow up thinking you are meant to take care of everyone else. So that's there's something in there. Then what I was thinking on yesterday when it comes to the whole full armor of God, because how to really get control is making that our speed, because this is me thinking like, okay, the difference between 20 years is there's so much layers of junk. And then this is now like a seed trying to get rid of all of that story, funky story that one has kind of believed, like, okay, where did you get this from? And like really thinking back and like, okay, separating, cleaning out stuff. So it's a mass cleanup for us, for me at least, for me to get to that pure state. And then I do recognize it's just increasing. I was listening to something that it's just praying in the Holy Spirit and breaking free.
One thing, sis, one thing I pray gives everybody doing this work in my school hope is every single day, are you experiencing freedom? No matter how small, no matter how big, you have to acknowledge he who the Son sets free is free indeed. There are a lot of junk. I agree. Because that's why I tell people disassociation is one of the things that happens in those culture. Those culture will never, ever, ever validate your feelings and emotions. It doesn't matter to them. How you feel does not matter. What you think does not matter, because control rides on denial. They don't treat people as emotional human beings. They treat people as machines, performance. You are only measured by how you show up, when you show up, and the things you do. You don't do what they want you to do. Who cares why you didn't do it? Mwah, judgment. You see, so the part of what happens is a culture that recognizes the power of emotions and feelings is a more healthy culture. A home that recognizes emotions and feelings is a more healthy home. A marriage, any relationship that denies your emotions and feelings, how you feel, will come up with a story of their own and will set an expectation over your life. And all they care about is, are you living up to their stories? They don't care what you're feeling, how you're what you're experiencing. It's all about performance. Performance in marriage, performance in relationship. Are you doing what you're expected to do? If you are, you're free. If you are not, you have no free. Whether you are in pain, whether you are struggling, whether you are hurt, who did what? No, they don't have the skills. They don't even want to see it, because everybody is in pain. Welcome to the culture. So those who suffered in the hands of predecessor will make other people suffer. You say, yes, when they too were in this situation, they were made to do these things. So welcome to the club. They'll be welcoming you to the club of torment. Do you understand? Instead of acknowledging their own stuff and dealing with their own stuff, they'll say, they've been living under burden. Egypt is normal. Pain is normal. Slavery is normal. Demotion is normal. Struggle is normal. You welcome me into the marriage and say, come and suffer. They too have been suffering in that family. So when you now say, they'll say, keep quiet. What are you saying? Keep quiet and suffer. They've normalized trauma. It's a whole culture of trauma. Nobody's allowed to escape. In fact, they'll be recruited. I call them culture police. If you're not suffering enough, they're like, go for that person. He's too free. He doesn't have job. Let's go. That's how that world is. That's why anybody that breaks free, it puts a distance between their life and everything else. It's real, guys. It's real. I know I'm laughing and everything. This stuff is so real in the fourth dimension. This in the third dimension, you can be wearing red bottom shoes, buying your Gucci bag, putting all the fancy lipstick. I will sell you some of that. But I'm telling you what people are going through in the fourth dimension at their soul level. Shit, that stuff is ugly stuff. And it's compounding. And it's compounding. And cells are weakening. And organs are weakening because of unresolved, real life drama. And people are drowning in it. And then here comes Coach Toyin saying, entrepreneurship, build wealth. And listen, what has weighed people down until that load, that burden of Egypt, until the burden of Egypt, until you escape Egypt, the Egyptians' hands, and pass through your Red Sea, and see God as your breakthrough. Where is the promised land of abundance and prosperity? Until you break free from the weight and conditioning and stories of littleness and powerlessness and limitation. The normal story of pain, and so until people break out of that, where is the abundance? You can go to church every day. Even the church too, guys. Even what I have seen at the level, you see, I'm speaking from the top. I'm speaking from the top. And when you look down at what people are going through, the church as humans are structured, I'm not talking about the spiritual order of God's kingdom on earth. I'm talking about humans that have not done the work, the emotional healing. They climb up the pulpit, they put a label, pastor, this, that. They are the most wicked. Anybody that has not done this work will use power to perpetrate wickedness. Why? You know why? They will see everybody as the issue except themselves. Anybody that doesn't mature, that doesn't take responsibility for forgiveness, that doesn't soften their hearts, and they are using stony hands to climb pulpit and preach. Whenever they come out from that anointing and they come out, you see Moses came down, you saw God came down, he threw the tabernacle, his own hanger. Anybody that has not dealt with this emotional stuff, that is what when they start dealing with congregation, with frustration, anger, because they've not dealt with it privately. They've not asked God to remove all those fleshly, to deal with their own stories of pain. Yesterday, I had a guest on my show in the city. And then after the show, I was talking, this is a seasoned entrepreneur. I said, entrepreneurs need healing. He was surprised that I ever said that. I said, I'm going through my healing. He was like, healing? Me? I said, let me tell you, your pain, your struggle, your investment, you are using it now to torment and accuse prospects. Why are they not buying? Why? I say, heal yourself. Heal yourself. Deal with your own stuff and then set people free so that you can work with them in love. By the time I explained it, he was like, oh, because people have energized their businesses out of emotional pain and struggle. You see? And so now they are using the landscape, sales, marketing, the language they are putting out there. They must first break people. They must first use evil intentions to make people powerless and then say, I will rescue people. So the sales world and marketing is broken because broken people must also break other people so that you will now be seeking the help. That's what, listen, whenever you are scrolling, you will see this tactic. Are you sick? Are you this? Are you that? Because they will first have to impose and project sickness on the world, and then they will say, we will heal you. So they're breaking more people. Whether in the church, whether in entrepreneurship, you see it everywhere. Governments too. Because their own unresolved stuff, other people will suffer what they are suffering. Just watch out. Most of the things people are marketing, just look at people's faces. The people marketing, there is an intention. They are broken. They are in pain, financial pain, this. And so they must use that weapon, that energetic weapon, to build a relationship that the power dynamics, okay, is that they will put themselves here. They will put everybody here, and then they will now be hooking people energetically. It sells. They make millions, billions out of this thing. That's why, for me, you sense always, and this is the work that I do, I always want people to be free. We are preaching freedom. So I will come, I will present, and I will move on. So people come and go as you want. I pray the Holy Spirit wake you up though. I will do what Holy Spirit does. I stand at the door and knock. If you decide you are ready to be free, you will come into a free space. Most of the people who sign up for programs, they are now hijacked into another bondage. They don't know though, spiritually. They will now stay six months after in a program. Psychological dependency. Oh, my coach. Oh, my pastor. You're supposed to be saying Jesus, 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 Jesus. Any person that speaks and says they are the spiritual authority over your life, run away. God is the Father of all spirits. You're all brothers and sisters. But some people, because of ignorance will make people go and put their life under another person. And the person will say, I'm the spiritual authority. If you allow them though. So now, because you've given them spiritual authority, now, the day you say something they don't like, you do something they don't like, that same person that you gave spiritual authority means they can curse you out of their own pain. Look at the prophets in the Old Testament. The moment a people put their head, make sure you put your head over or under somebody that is healed and whole and can love you even when you fail. that is a parent, is a real, has a real, that God has dealt with that person. Anybody God has not dealt with, that has not dealt with their own stuff, is a dangerous person to put your spiritual life under. Because the day they are displeased with you, the day you make a mistake, that's the day they will put another story over your life. And then those people will now be doing wonky. That's why many people are afraid in the church. Perfect love casts out fear, right? Perfect love casts out fear. Why are people afraid of pastors? This is the reason why. Because their spirits, their energetic disposition is unclean. When you come into the aura of people who are pure in love, you don't have fear. What you have is freedom. You can say what you want to say because you know the person is not going to attack you. You are free to say the freedom. He who the Son sets free is free indeed. You are free in the presence of people who have real love for you. You see, what's going on is that many people, when they enter the aura of power of spiritual leaders, they were like, don't say anything he doesn't want to say. This person is. Why? It's because the spirit of wickedness is ruling in that domain. You know, if you say the wrong thing, they are coming for you. Spirit of wickedness is there. So we know these things. I'm speaking from the top. But when we see the damage being done at the lower level, I'm like, they may not listen, they may not change, they may not do the work. Even though I train minister, I'm saying at least take your own life. Don't wait for the people you've outsourced your power to. Everybody has access to God. Everybody has access to Jesus. Use your access to set yourself free. Let me stop there because I've said a whole lot now. Okay, let's wrap this up. Go ahead. I know you're doing. Go ahead. Mute. Or mute. Let's.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you. I feel a lot better. Thank you. I do.
That's how we're supposed to feel better, because the word of God, the truth sets us free. Anytime you don't feel better, something has come into your system that is not good.
Yeah.
You see my point? God sends his word and he healed our diseases, discomforts, right? God's word is supposed to set us free. Anytime you encounter somebody says something, somebody's presence, and you feel, because remember I talked about the child, right? The child cannot speak yet. The baby cannot speak yet because it has to go to school to learn ABCD, colors, and has to be trained on the meaning of life, what they see in life. And that training actually determines their experiences and their interpretations of life. That's why everybody has to keep training themselves for more. That's maturity. You have to, but it's optional. Intellectual maturity, spiritual maturity, emotional maturity. It doesn't happen by default if people don't invest in it. Right? That's what people are supposed to buy the truth, sell it not. But people who live in darkness, it's not whole. Part of spiritual maturity is knowledge. So part of the knowledge of feelings and emotion is that your physical body in the third dimension, okay, is exposed to energy and information. What people say, what they do, what they think, it is the one that recipients, whether external information or internal information. You are processing for information internal, and also you are exposed to information coming at you. You can read a book, you can take information in, you can be scrolling, like you are exposed. The physical nature is exposed. And the way God designed us is that the physical body, the cellular nature, reacts and responds to information and energy. And that reactivity is what we call emotions. Positive reactivity, negative reactivity is governed by the information that is being processed and sent to the cells. And so my point is that you have this superior power. This is the elevated training where those downloads in my school, Toyin Umesiri Academy, is about gaining the power to have the right interpretation and updates of reality. Meaning, the story you tell about what is going on is the story you will store and repeat and live out, because you are training your mind to agree with what you've opened your life to. What do I mean? In the back end, the interface between your spiritual self and your physical self, what people can see and what people cannot see. Right? The version of you people can see and the version of you people cannot see. Both exist. There's a version of you I cannot see. There's a version of you I'm looking at. The version of you I'm looking at has gone through a process, okay, that is based on permission, what you permit to happen to your physical body. This is your power of thoughts and beliefs. What you believe is what you are permitting for your physical nature. What you're thinking is what you are opening your life to see. And my point today also is that from childhood, when you were open, a child is open 0 to 7 to programming. People said things, people did things. Other people impressed on you a story of what they think of you. Now, if you don't mature out of those stories and take your power back, taking your power back means crafting your own stories and deleting the stories you don't like. That's simply what it is. But it takes a lot of courage, a lot of inner work to resurface the stories because what happens is when people don't like those stories, okay, they push it down instead of removing it. They push it down, they push it down, they push it down. So think about a memory bank. You've been packing things that happen, you didn't deal with it, you push it down, you push it down. Now the memory bank is full. Oh. It's full. The story bank is full. Right? And now you want to use that memory bank to load up more information that will help you build wealth. Because that's the same memory bank that you're going to use to load up information on how to navigate life in a way that you'll be more successful. Okay, what would you do? As you're pouring in the word of God, the junk wants to rise up, and right? So when you're in my school and you're doing, taking my classes, what usually happens is what was in there that you didn't see, that you've been packing, they rise to the top. Now you have to confront. But your mind will not delete it for you. It will first ask you, it's a great assistant. What should I do with this story you've been packing since you were 5? It's not going to delete it. So you find out that morning, night, whenever you are quiet, entrepreneurs will be running. But when you are quiet at night, funky stories rise to the top. The mind is trying to rearrange memory. It needs more room. It needs more expansion. And if those stories are from childhood, they are limitations to your future. So what usually happens is those stories rise up, and part of the skill is scoop it. You have to learn how to see and process those stories and delete them. You will be made to confront and deal with the things you've not dealt with. I've seen this. I've experienced it. That's why I say don't be surprised, don't be shocked. Because suddenly, most people, a lot of people who don't have the tools that I offer in my school, that stuff can be messy business. Because emotions affect psychology. You're going to use the same mind you're using to build the future, to build the business, is the same mind you're going to need to use to deal with your past. Right? So, what time are you going to allocate which one? Because the process overwhelms your system. It takes a lot of computing power to process emotions. It takes a lot of computing power to be planning, marketing, branding, sales, my clients. So your mind will say, which one are you ready? What's the assignment for today? What's your priority? That's why I tell people, Give it a year to do all this work. One moment, one emotion will need your attention, deal with it. Another moment, a client will need your attention. How do you organize time management, managing yourself? How do you plan your days? Is because the mind can process your past, present, and future. You have to decide. It's a tool. But when you are doing emotional healing, that work requires all of you. That's why it does it when you are quiet. It doesn't try to interrupt you. It does it when you're quiet or when you just freshly wake up. When you just freshly wake up, the first few thoughts.
Yeah.
That's why God will say, this book of the Lord shall not depart out of thy mouth, right? Day and night. It's because there's something that happens in the morning and something that happens in the night that you must handle. Okay? They create manifest. What you submit when you are going to bed at night will determine certain things when you wake up in the morning. And what you do in the morning will determine how your day will go. So day and night, these are advanced stuff, right? So this has been juicy. It's a lot. It's deep, transformational. So now you see why those workbooks, the 4 workbooks. I know I also created an ebook for emotional intelligence for entrepreneurs, and then there's the Quantum Leap Human Design courses, right? And then the Heal Your Past, the Present, and then the Future, and then you also have the Emotional Money Block. Right. This is because the people need to rearrange the information they are processing with their system. People need to shift the stories that is holding their reality, because people live out their stories, right? Stories are the instruction that guides your life. What you believe will create a story, and it will make you an actor in that story. And people you live equal to your story pretty much, because the story is the anchor that governs life's experiences. And so being an entrepreneur is a story. Being an employee is a story, because those story governs what you can do, what you cannot do, how you behave, right? What the expectations are, which you have agreed to. The day you form a relationship with an employer, it's an agreement. And the day you deviate from your agreement, you'll be let go. Every relationship is an agreement. And so when you shift employee to entrepreneur, you have to let go of the old story. And people who don't let go of the old story will be they'll feel stuck, because the story of your behavior and your expectation energetically of how you act in the world as an employee has been written for people for years, more than 20 years. Now you need to update that story with freedom. An entrepreneur's success is based on their intellectual, emotional, spiritual freedom. People who are not free emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, they can't move freely in life. They can't do things freely. Like those conditioning of, if you do this, your employer will do that. If you clock in here, then this is they've programmed a cage. And people live in that cage because of the expectations set by culture of the workplace. If you want to send this email, you have to be careful how you send it. And you've programmed your mind to function that way. So now an entrepreneur that needs to be free to think, to process, to move around the world freely, how do you set yourself free? You have to break down all of those limiting stories. You know, an entrepreneur or an employee, when an employee wants to post on LinkedIn, they'll first have to consider, what will my colleagues say? That's the programming of an employee. You have to worry about the opinion of other people when you are taking actions in your favor. It's a mindset. When that person becomes an entrepreneur, if they don't change that story, you will now say post. That story will show up and hijack their future. That's why many people say, I don't like to sell. It's not that you don't like to do it. It's like you've not been trained to override an existing story that makes you not able to do the things you want to do freely. I just gave a small example of how incredible this thing is. It's so powerful. You want to post, as simple as that, the old story, the old memory of you not being allowed, or you being uncomfortable, or the consequences of such a behavior when you were an employee. If you don't break down that story, that story does not go away. You are the one to tear it down. Now, as an entrepreneur, you have your own business. You have to market. You have to brand. You have to tell your story freely. And that story is saying something is still wrong with you. You have to deal with that. You have to deal with that. So that's just an example of many, 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 many conditioning roadblocks people have erected in order to fit into other people's story. But entrepreneur, you come up with your own story, and then you also help other people lead other people out. So if you can't lead yourself out of this, people are stuck. That's all of the things that people, it's again, when we say emotion is just giving you, is alerting you to a story that you believe. That's all. Anytime you emote, anytime you feel something, just sit down and start asking your mind, what is that? So when you are ready, your mind will show you. If you have, but get the tools first, because this process can be so incredible. What I recommend is get the training first, because this is why people go for therapy. You have to be in the presence of somebody that knows how to help you navigate your emotional stuff. Otherwise, it can overwhelm people. If you don't, so I give people the skills first, so that you know and you can process it, right? You can get out of it, because when people go back into their old patterns of story, it becomes difficult for them to get themselves out. This stuff is serious. You have to find a way out. It's like Bible saying, you give us a way of escape. There are some things where there are some stories people have built up that literally it's a cage. Once they get into that story and start saying, oh, the person, then they start crying, and the pain starts repeating itself. It's like, oh, somebody has to bring them out. Somebody has to say, snap out. You know, you just said now you feel better. That's a snap out. Yes. Because emotion can go, you have to find, it's almost like a maze. You want to find a window so you can breathe. Because people can drown. So that's why therapy, one of the things with therapy is it creates a space. You start processing your emotions. The pain rises up, right? But you can be somebody, you're in somebody's presence that knows how to help you keep breathing, because you have to keep breathing. You have to keep breathing, right? Because it's heavy. That information is so heavy, it can drown people and people can stop, right? You have to keep breathing, right? You have to stay alive, walk through that story. When you come out of it and you realize you've escaped, what the therapist is trying to do is, okay, now what? Okay, somebody did this. Okay, now what? Because you don't want to eat a dead end in your story. That's the stock. Somebody did you this, then that. Full stop. That's a cage. It's a cage. To make a conclusion that you have no power to. So being empowered is, okay, that's not the end of your story. Keep moving. Okay, what else can you do? Okay. Take your control back, okay? Because anytime you give power to other people, they've locked you in a cage. All you do is, okay, but you can move, keep moving, keep rising. Okay, what can you do? Because once you start doing, you find yourself escaping that story. And once you escape, that story has lost its power. That's why a therapist, literally, is like, that's why they tell people to lie down. They are in a trance. They are living in another, like they've entered into a story and they are walking their way. So the therapist's presence helps people go, okay, keep moving. Then what happened? Oh, then this person did, and then what happened? And then this person did, and then what happened? And then this person did. Okay, breathe. Okay, now what are you going to do about that? Now what are you going to do is when you are giving your power to escape a limiting story. People don't escape if they feel they don't have the power to escape, if the power is in somebody else's hand. Somebody else has to do something before you escape. No, let them stay where they are. You will just jump out of the, do you know how to jump out, out of the window? If God gives you a window of escape, jump out. many people don't understand. Every time I'm telling them, take this course, download this thing. It's a window of escape. People have been praying. Why this person doesn't do me this? Why are you not having customers? I'm like, jump out of the window. You are in a burning building. Don't drown. Grab the helicopter ladder. When somebody throws you a ladder of escape, whenever I say download this emotional workbook, grab it and jump out of the window. This is the answer to people's prayers. Don't be drowning in chaos. Some people, don't be in love with your past. If it is healthy, fantastic. It is, right? The healthy part, use it to move forward. Knowledge is always a way of escape. Good knowledge, good tools is a way of escape. If God gives you a window in a burning building, jump, right? Look out and then jump. Or if God sends some, people will be praying. The best thing, okay, there is a ladder. There is a program. There is a class that is addressing the very thing that is holding people back. Jump, grab it with your own energies, your life force. It will rescue you. That's really it. That's why I say he will give us a way of escape out of these things. So people need to learn how to be looking for things that will get them out of these conditions. You see, they should not fall in love or even conclude, oh, this is why is your life? Listen, let's go in search of a better life and invest in it. I'm direct, right? Mute.
I'm just so overwhelmed right now.
Literally, look at
but
you.
in a good way.
Look at you walking around now. You're moving around. That's it.
It's oh gosh. It just opened up so much, it allowed for the conversation today, just allowed for the freedom of seeing what transpired as far as when we first started talking about, I talked about the death of the client and how to move through that, and then just talking through how family emotional connections have just allowed for pinned up stories and stuff to take place, and how to release those things and not to allow for, stuff to just continue to pile up. And it just released me. It has.
It's a practice. Everything I teach is real. You just experience how real this is. You started from a place, but look at the conversation. Now it's like you can see light and you're experiencing something different. Yeah. That stuff as the reality, that story is still, but I'm saying stories hold power over people. Make sure you find a way of rerouting yourself to a different story.
Yes.
And then deal with that one. You deal with that one from a higher ground. Now you can process it better. Not when you are inside it.
Right. When
you are inside it, you are locked in the building of that emotion. But that is still healthy though. Because most people try to not acknowledge it. They don't want to, they pretend as if it doesn't exist. So when you are doing this work, this is something you will see. Emotions will drag you into the room that they live. Learn how to clean it and then get out of it. So you don't get stuck inside it. That's the skill. A few times you may need to in and out, and you will feel in and out is like, let me use this analogy. It's like become a scuba driver. Scuba diver. Carry your oxygen mask. Some people who don't have oxygen, they will drown inside. But once you've developed this skill over and over and over again, you will learn how to dive into your emotions, but you have enough oxygen so that it doesn't drown you. You rise up again. Because you remember the penthouse, you go to your penthouse, it's still your house, it's your body. You learn how to, okay, we are going to third level now. What's going on? In the third level, clean your third level.
Right.
You will have to confront what is in the third level. When you are done, learn how to go back into your elevator and then go and eat good food and dress well and go and do the work and do whatever you need to do to function in life. This is where you are living in your body, not just your head.
Right.
And you know how to go fix, listen. You know how to listen when something is out of place. When your car is crank, you are not in denial. In denial is just living at the top of life, and then when things happen, you're like, it didn't happen. Wow. But somebody's packing junk in your entire building. Level 1, level 2, level 3, those things don't go away. Right? The day you now want to make money and you now open one level, all the things you didn't deal with for 20, 30 years, they are still there. Those cells are packing your life experiences. They're still there. Right? They're still there. So what you just experienced today is you were on one floor. You were on one floor, energetic floor, that brought you to a realm. Learn how to worship God, praise God at every floor of life. That's the cleanup.
Yes. Yes.
Don't be in denial. That's life. However, don't live permanently there. That's the rescue. Some people in Christianity, they think living there. Some people live all of their life at that level. The way of escape is listen. Bartholomew, like it's the person, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. That's the cry. If you did not tell me what was up, you didn't have to. Right? People are packing junk and they're covering it up with makeup. That's okay. I get it. In the church. Because the church is not asking you, how are you? They don't even want to know. They're just feeding more junk. Listen, everything that comes out from the altar is not what is good. Like, humans are humans. Learn how to filter. Sometimes you go in, you come out, you're like, did you just go to church? Because somebody fed. You have to learn how to, when you know how to do this work and you know where it's coming from, you become a better guard over your mind. Many people are not guarding their mind because they don't know, they've not even dealt with the results of the past. Somebody said something, somebody gave you a look, somebody did this, somebody didn't like you, somebody didn't. But did you brush it up? Did you deal with it? If you didn't deal with it, the mind attaches and stores it. It's collecting stuff every day. It's collecting stuff and keeping it in your building. Is it collecting good stuff? This stuff is the most advanced stuff. We can all say, entrepreneurship, all of those things, but it takes serious responsibility. And and real Christianity is when we allow God. You see, because also part of this is, even in the privacy, why I give all those workbooks is in your own privacy, you can let God into your room and affairs. You can bring in the Holy Spirit into all of those doors, all those issues, and ask for his wisdom. Anybody that is lacking wisdom, ask. So we need to also bring God into the daily affairs. So the time is clocked. This is another reroute. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, invite more people to come and enjoy the deliciousness. Bye now. God bless you, everybody. Sorry?
Still need
You like my lipstick? You like it? If everybody will move to, I build my own city. Everybody should move to my city, and we'll build a beautiful city. Anyway, we'll see where. I mean it though. Take care now. Happy people city, God people city, God people peace. Heaven on earth city. Jesus, you will come up with a name because listen, Jesus help us in this life. The life Jesus gives. Take care now, enjoy. God bless you. Bye.